Right, welcome to part 2 of the paint servicing series. In this video, we're going to look at the different types of scratches you can get on your bike and give you some general instructions on how to deal with those. As before, this video is for gloss frames. Don't try anything I'm going to tell you here on a matte or satin frame because you'll turn it gloss. I'll be making some videos later about how to deal with satin and matte paint, okay? So you've been warned. Don't try any of this on your matte or satin frame because you'll turn it gloss, and don't blame me if you do that, all right? Okay, cool. Right, so in front of you is the bike which I cleaned up previously. In the previous video, what we were doing was leveling off the clear coat and removing the basic sort of ground in grime, okay? This stage is when we start getting into more detail. First of all, we're going to look over the frame. I'm going to show you how to look over the frame and identify all the different types of scratches you can get. Now, depending on how badly you've treated your bike, you may not have all of these types of scratches on your bike, okay? We'll start off with the least serious scratch, then we'll go mid-range, and then we'll look at the big heavy sort of scratches you can get and how to deal with those. In terms of tools, for the least serious scratches, you can use sandpaper and water, basically, and polishing compound. For the mid-range and heavy scratches, you're going to need some extra tools in the form of paint. So the first thing you need to do is you need to have a good look over your frame and you need to find out what's wrong with it. Now, the best tool for this is a torch, okay? Get a torch, or alternatively, just use your phone. The torch on my iPhone, I find that's really good for checking out scratches. Now, it might be a little bit difficult to see this on the video, so apologies if you can't, but the least serious and probably the most common type of scratch on your bike will be damage to the clear coat. This is caused by things brushing against your frame, you snagging it on something, leaning it against things, all that kind of stuff. What happens is the clear coat just gets scuffed or rubbed, and then you get these kind of abrasions in it, or areas that are not perfectly smooth, all right? You'll probably notice these all over your bike. With the torch, you can see here, that's a clear coat scratch. So looking at it closely then, what it is, it's basically just where the clear coat has been scuffed and it's no longer flat and smooth, okay? So, easy way to deal with this, you get your sandpaper starting at 1,200 grit or even 2,000 grit if it's not a very serious scratch, and you just gently sand over it until it's smooth. If you look here, you can see this scratch actually has two parts. It's got the rough sort of large edges which can be easily smoothed off, and it's got this slightly more aggressive part which I can feel a little bit with my pen tip. This part will need a bit more work. Now what you'll do here is you'll smooth this gently first, and this will probably clear up this area here, but you may be left with this little middle deeper scratch. Now that is not down to the black, because you can see it's got a white sort of cloudy centre, which is still the clear coat, but it is slightly deeper than the surrounding areas. Now to deal with this, essentially what you're going to be doing is smoothing out the whole centre and then rounding the edges off. So to do this, you'll use your sandpaper but at a different angle and gently smooth the middle off. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Here are some more scratches on the E. That's a clear coat scratch just there. That's a clear coat scratch just there. These can be just sanded out very easily, smoothed off, then the whole area polished down. So by now you should be able to understand what a clear coat scratch is. It's a small scratch that isn't deep, and it just goes into the clear coat. Dealing with these is very easy, and it is basically just sort of the same work that you were doing in the previous video in a more detailed, localized way. So I'm going to show you now how to deal with these scratches and show you how they can easily come out. All right, this is how to deal with a clear coat scratch. As you can see, the scratch is here, as we explained before. What we're going to do first is use a 2,000 grit sandpaper soaked in water to smooth down this area here. We're going to ignore this deeper scratch in the middle for the time being, get this area done first around the outside, and then we'll go over this area again and deal with it. Okay, this is 2,000 grit sandpaper. As you can see, it's already coming off. So we're going very, very gently in the localized area. There we go. The white stuff here is the clear coat that's coming off. All right. Now you can see we've flattened the area on the top, but you still need to deal with this down here. Pushing very gently. Okay, you can see the clear coat coming off down here. So let's wipe it off. Okay, yeah, that's getting better. There's still a few little lines here, which we can deal with. Okay, very nice. Now we're going to use the 3000 grit sandpaper to smooth it off and flatten it down so it brings back a little bit of the gloss. To fully bring back the gloss, we're going to have to use polishing compound, as we showed you in the previous video. All right, so this is 3000, soaked in water, of course. So that's looking much better. You can see the clear coat that's come off with the water. So let's wipe it down. Now you can see that we've still got some slightly deeper scratches here. Okay, either you can work those out yourself by folding the sandpaper over into a slightly more aggressive edge and then going down the scratches to soften them out like this. Or you can just leave them. It's really up to you. If you want to do a really detailed job, then yeah, you can smooth them out by folding the paper over like this. So that's looking a lot better. When we polish this back up, all this matte sort of cloudiness will just disappear and it will be fully gloss again. The scratch down the middle actually appears to have been taken out as well, which is good. So it wasn't that deep after all, the vertical scratch going this way. If this scratch was still here, we would turn the sandpaper over like this and just sand down the scratch, which smooths out the middle, creating a sort of soft valley rather than a jagged slice. And then we go over it again with 3000 grit sandpaper and then polishing compound. So that's how you deal with clear coat scratches. This whole procedure is quite addictive. You can go over your whole frame doing this and finding all sorts of little nicks and scratches and stuff in the clear coat. If you do the first step, which I showed you in the previous video, leveling off the whole frame, and then you go over the frame and you do a full detail work like this on just the clear coat, ignoring the large scratches, your frame will look absolutely incredible, even if it has some scratches on it. I find it sort of, I don't know, it puts the scratches into context, you know? So a scratch on a really shiny frame always looks better than a load of scratches on a dirty looking frame, I find. It's like seeing a scar on the face of a beautiful woman, you know? It's not necessarily a disaster. That's how you do your clear coat. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to identify the other types of scratches you can get on your bike. Lucky for you, this frame is covered in them. So here we go. Okay, so here we have the next level of paint scratch, the next level of seriousness. This is deeper than a clear coat scratch. When I slide my pen tip over it, I can feel it knocking into it. I can feel it catching. So this has gone through the clear coat into the paint underneath and has then filled up with dirt through riding. Okay, to deal with this, you would clean it out by sanding it out. Because it's deeper than just the clear coat, you need to sand the clear coat around it smooth. Then you'll need to remove some of the paint underneath that to get that smooth as well. And then you'll need to fill it back up. This process involves more tools, of course, and those tools being paint and clear coat. So all of this will be dealt with in a different video. For now, we're just going to identify the different types of scratches. So this one is level 2. It is through the clear coat and into the paintwork underneath. Okay, here's another one. You can see it's through the clear coat and into the paint underneath, and it's filled up with dirt. You can feel that on your pen as you slide it over the top. We're going to go deeper now. We're going to look at scratches that have gone through the clear coat, through the first layer of paint and into the second layer of paint, revealing the undercoat or the primer. Okay, a very common area for this sort of damage to happen. Here you can see an undamaged area. So that's got clear coat, that's got the first layer of white paint on it. Here you can see the clear coat's come off, the first white layer of paint's come off, and you're left with this under layer. So this has gone through several layers of paint and you've got this cracked edge around here. Dealing with this will involve sanding this whole area down, getting it smooth, getting these craggy edges smooth, and then repainting and actually building the paint back up so it's the same level as the outer layer here, and then
putting a clear coat on top of that. This is a longer job, and again, I'll show you that in a different video. But this is just to show you the next level of damage, okay? In terms of seriousness, the clear coat scratch, the clear coat through to the top layer of paint scratch, and this kind of scratch is still not a complete disaster because the substrate, i.e. the metal or the carbon, is not being revealed. Well, actually there's a little bit here, but let's just talk about this bit here. It's not being revealed. So, I mean, although it's not very good to look at, it's not going to put your frame material at any kind of risk because the frame material is not being revealed to the outside world, so to speak. Now, let's go to the next level, which is the most serious one. Right then, ouch. Look at this. This is clear coat, top layer, base layer, primer, and then down to the bare metal. This is a pretty heavy bit of damage to the paintwork, i.e. the paintwork's been completely taken off. I don't know how this person did this, honestly. Did they lay their bike down in front of a combine harvester? Fuck knows. Dealing with this then is the biggest job, and actually probably the most important job. This will be an entire video by itself, how to deal with this, because it involves various different procedures, and also there's various different ways you can approach it, and there's various different levels of dealing with this as well. You can either do a quick job just to save the base material, or you can go fully into detail and restore it to its former glory, which takes longer, but is more worthwhile in the long run if you're an artist. So yeah, look at this. I mean, this is right down to the metal. You can see how thick the paint is here. These scratches, while being, you know, extremely annoying and upsetting, are actually quite useful. They show you exactly how your paint goes together on your frame, and they show you how the manufacturers built the paintwork up. So in terms of, you know, repairing every other scratch on your bike, this is a very good reference to use because it allows you to sort of understand, you know, exactly how deep the clear coat is, exactly how deep the different layers are, so that when you're doing your repair work on the other stuff on your bike, you don't go too deep or you don't fuck it up, right? So yeah, this is pretty heavy damage. Now this area here, I've actually started cleaning it up when this frame was presented to me. After I regained consciousness, had stopped vomiting, and my nose had stopped bleeding. To clean these up, of course, it's just you know, a sandpaper job, chemical cleaner, getting it all as clean as possible. So next video, I'll start looking at how to fix scratches that require paintwork. Okay, so far we've dealt with leveling off your frame and dealing with clear coat scratches. Next videos that come along will be scratches that involve repainting stuff and building paintwork back up. All right, cheers.